Today's weapon is a bolt-action, magazine-fed, repeating rifle that was the main firearm used by the oh-so-great British Empire and Commonwealth during the first half of the 20th century. It was the British Army's standard rifle from its official adoption in 1895 until 1957. On the battlefield, it is unlocked for the Scout class, and in the beta comes in 2 versions. Today on Weapons of Battlefield, we take a look at the simply splendid Lee Enfield Mark III. So, the Lee Enfield Mark III. It was a redesign of the Lee Metford adopted by the British Army in 1888. The Lee Enfield superseded the earlier Martini Henry and Martini Enfield designs. Now, I do believe that we'll be getting the Martini Henry. Now, I don't even know if it's pronounced Martini or Martini. I'll have a Martini Henry, shaken not stirred please. But the Martini Henry is, I believe, going to be in the full game, so it'll be interesting to be able to use the Lee Enfield and the rifle that was used before the Lee Enfield in Battlefield 1, so that's a nice little addition for the game. As for the weapon, when it was first created, when we first adopted, it shot the 303 British cartridge. It was eventually rechambered to shoot 7.62, but that was long after its use in the British and Commonwealth armies. It's seen quite a lot of action, the Lee Enfield, including the Second Boer War, which was its first use in battle, the First World War, a pretty obvious one, Irish War of Independence, the Irish Civil War, World War II, the Indo-Pakistani Wars, the Greek Civil War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, as well as the Afghanistan conflict. And that's just naming a few. So this weapon is pretty, well, it's pretty battle-hardened. However, that is all of its variants. But today we're talking about specifically one variant, and that is the Mark III. As the Mark III Lee Enfield is the version we get in Battlefield 1. Now, you may be more familiar with the Mark IV, sometimes referred to as the number 4 Lee Enfield, and that is the Lee Enfield that was used in the Second World War, and most likely as well in wars like Vietnam and the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. That's probably the most common version of the weapon. However, today we're not talking about that, we are talking about the Mark III. Now, 17 million Lee Enfields in general were made, and that's pretty impressive. Now, the MLE versions were produced from 1895 to 1907, and then the SMLE versions were produced from 1907 to present day, which is mental, but these are quite fun rifles to shoot. I've never shot one. This is going off other people's words, but they're apparently quite fun to shoot. They bolt very, very quickly, and that's sort of like the main thing about the Lee Enfield was the speed that you were able to bolt it. If a shooter held the bolt with their index finger and thumb, and then used their middle finger to pull the trigger, they could bolt these weapons incredibly fast, which came to the saying known as the Mad Minute, where British soldiers would line up and they would fire their Lee Enfields at such an incredible speed that they would be like a machine gun firing. Some people believe there can be 60 rounds discharged in a minute, which of course is 1 round a second. I'm pretty sure modern day gun enthusiasts and firearms experts have got on to disprove this myth, and it is just a myth, just like a saying, but that's not to take anything away from the fact that these Lee Enfield rifles can be fired astonishingly quickly. Now, how does that show? How does that transfer into the game? How's the Lee Enfield in Battlefield 1? Well, I think they've modelled it very well, because my favourite thing about the Lee Enfield is its rate of fire. It fires so quickly. Now, I can't speak much for the sniper variant, because I only really used the carbine version, which is the version without a scope. Instead, it's got these weird sights on it. And you can bolt it whilst aiming down the sight, what we know in Battlefield 3 and 4 as a straight pull bolt. Now, I love it. I do love this weapon. I mentioned in the last episode of Weapons of Battlefield that I prefer the Mauser 98, but I prefer the Mauser 98 as a sniper. As a carbine rifle, or, you know, a non-scoped rifle, the Lee Enfield takes the cake. It's got such an incredible rate of fire. You can honestly fire one shot, and in maybe even within the next second fire another shot. It bolts so quickly. As well, it's reloaded as it was in real life with 2 5-round stripper clips, because it has an internal box mag which does also extend out of the weapon and is actually removable, just not in the sense that we know magazines being removable today. But you can remove the magazine on a Lee Enfield, but it's not designed to. But because of that external magazine, the bit that sticks out, the Lee Enfield can carry 2 5-round stripper clips, giving it a total magazine capacity of 10 rounds, which is double the amount in the German 95 and the German 98. So that's an obvious advantage you can afford to miss. Which you shouldn't, because it's quite accurate. It's not anywhere near as accurate as the 98, but it is quite accurate, and I do prefer to use it in the closer range with the carbine version. But I don't really have much to say about it other than I really enjoy it, you know. I hope you can see from the gameplay that I really enjoy it. It's quite a nice looking rifle, but I do prefer the looks of the 98. And yeah, I'm surprised when researching it that it's still used today. I think it's the Canadian Rangers that have it as their official rifle still, which is pretty interesting. On Wikipedia, though, its official rate of fire is 20 to 30 aimed shots a minute. Now, that is actually quite impressive, and they're aimed shots, so you never know. Maybe someone who's very good with their bolt-action rifles, and specifically very good with the Lee Enfield, maybe they can discharge 60 rounds within a minute. Now, that, of course, doesn't take into account reloading in between. But anyway, guys, that was the Lee Enfield of Battlefield 1. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Awesome Cookies. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more. Do exactly the same over at Gentleman Gaming, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheerio.